Hey everyone, Cadian Sergeant Steel here, and today I want to talk to you about the Warhammer Grand Narrative Event 2023. So this is a super special event for me for multiple reasons. One, I am mostly a narrative player when it comes to Warhammer 40k, so when they created the Grand Narrative Event, I was already interested in going. Last year was the first year I was unable to make it though, so I couldn't afford to travel out to New Mexico and be a part of it. But this year, I had won the Spirit of the Narrative Award at the Nova Narrative Event. So the Nova Open, if you all aren't familiar with that, highly recommend the event. Winning that award, the Spirit of the Narrative Event, won me a free ticket to the Grand Narrative Event this year in 2023, held in Atlanta, Georgia. I quickly got excited, made my travel plans, booked my hotel, packed up my army, and went on down to this event to participate in it. Now, I already knew several of my friends were going, and that was really exciting too. So a lot of folks from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania scene, Martin, who was actually on my team and is a phenomenal painter, by the way, won Best Painted Army at the event, well deserved too. And then several other folks, Spencer and Nick, who I hang out with at the Nova Open as well, and many other hobbyists that I know through either social media or other events that I go to, were all present at this event, which was really amazing to go there with people that were like-minded and also some old friends that I already knew as well. So what to expect out of this event? They kind of already set the stage, and it was really big. A couple months or more ahead of the event, GW staff emailed us and sent us out basically these kind of narrative briefings. So it talked about the system, it talked about the planets, and it talked about why each one was important. And it was really cool to kind of read about that, about all the different planets, all the different places you could be deployed. And I'll talk more about the format in just a moment. So already they were setting us up to kind of understand the narrative and what was happening. One of the places I found most interesting, for example, was the Fivefold Forge. So it was basically this kind of ancient Mechanicum forge in which everything it produced was dumped into this pit. And this pit was bottomless. So nobody knew why it would make these things and then dump them down into this bottomless pit. We found out by the end. But I was like, ooh, that's intriguing. So this was the kind of stuff that they were creating and setting us up with. Now, upon arriving at the event, actually getting there, it was really amazing. Right off the bat, the registration table was full of the Vox Localum and the Lords of War. So the Vox Localum were GW staff who were cosplaying as characters, and they were in character 100% of the time for this event. Really amazing dedication from all the Games Workshop staff. It was phenomenal. So they checked you in, and they asked for your rank, and they asked for all this kind of other stuff narratively about you to get you registered. They gave you a name tag. So like, here's mine, right? And one of the cool things about the name tag, which I think is what helps make this special, and the amount of logistics that went into this is phenomenal. It had a map of the event venue and where all those planets were that I was just telling you about a moment ago. So it had them all listed on here. And this way you could already help navigate and understand the system, the palette system that we were playing in. So this was really cool. They also issued you a tarot card. This I was not expecting. Now I wish I could get a full deck of this. These were specifically made for the Grand Narrative Event. They're printed there on the back. But how this worked is that your tarot card determined your battlefield. So on each planet, there were different groups. There were 3 groups, I think, on each planet. And then so 6 battle groups, 3 versus 3 would go to each planet. And then with the battle groups, they would get assigned a zone within the planets, one of the 3 zones. And then each zone had one of each of the tarot cards. I drew the full. Thought it was kind of funny. And was able to easily identify the table that I had to go to every time. So if I got assigned to, say, just one of the planets, and they were like, okay, well, battle group 12, which is what I was a part of, is in the back zone 3, then I would need to go find the table with the full card. And that's the table I was playing on. which was a really cool way to do pairings. They also allowed you the option to swap tarot cards with one of your teammates. So in case there was a specific player you wanted to play, which I did do that, or there was a specific battlefield you wanted to play on, you could swap out, maybe for the rest of the event, maybe for just that one deployment, which is a really cool way of doing pairings. They also gave you a collectible coin for the event, for the palette system Grand Narrative, which is really cool. They gave you a dicey bag. I really love this. Basically a glorified Warhammer fanny pack. I used it. I didn't wear it because I was in cosplay, but I hung it off my Olympia cart and used that to kind of store some stuff in. But here's the other cool thing they did at registration to get you into it. To give you this. This is everything about the missions that you needed to know. So it had everything from the format of the games to your projected schedule to your deployment, and then in here were all of the missions. So it was so easy. So if you knew on your planet you'd get there, and the voxel column would then tell you when you get to your planet, oh, you're playing the Gathering Shroud mission, and you just pull it out and start playing it. Really love this. These cards are amazing. I almost wish they sold them along with the tarot cards. I think that would be really wonderful, but these are not available. So the characters in their cosplay were handing all this out and talking to you, giving you all your swag, right? I got a swag bag, got some cool stuff in it too, and was able to continue on. Now, immediately, there's also the Lords of War. The Lords of War were the leaders of the 3 pacts. There were, and so when you registered, you chose one of the 3 pacts. There was the Pact of Annihilation, the Pact of Resistance, the Pact of Enlightenment. Now, they gave you some suggestions for these. The Pact of Resistance was meant to be Xenos. The Pact of Annihilation was meant to be kind of Chaos themed, and the Pact of Enlightenment was meant to be kind of Imperium in general. But it didn't matter. You could choose to go one way or the other. And a good example is my friend Spencer was playing Black Templars, but he chose Pact of Annihilation. I, of course, being the dedicated Cadian that I am, chose the Pact of Enlightenment and played on that team. So there were 3 Lords of War, and each one represented those teams. There was an Inquisitor for the Enlightenment. There was a strange being for the Pact of Resistance, so no spoilers yet, and wasn't quite sure what or who they were until we were about halfway through the event, which was really cool. And then for the Pact of Annihilation, there was Colonel Thedge, who was a traitor Cadian that had, taken up for the Eightfold Path and was worshiping Khorne. They were a character the whole time, and it was just phenomenal. They were walking around, and already they were taunting us or whispering sweet, sweet things to us, or trying to motivate us, depending on which character it was and what they were doing. So that was really fun. Immediately upon registration, you get all this cool stuff, and you're already immersed into the narrative. So what it looked like from there on out is we would then go and do our game. So the next day, that evening, well, just to back up a little bit. So that evening and every morning, we would get a briefing to tell us what was going on. So hopefully right here, I got one of those decently on video. It was really hard because the crowds were quite big. I think there was over 160 players in the Grand Narrative. So pretty decent crowd for a narrative event.
The command entity itself. It communicates with you constantly. But this planet is ever shifting. It lies. So man, break out, move forward, advance, clear us a space so that our secondary teams can investigate us safely if they possibly can in this now hole. We need to escape from here. The only way that we can do that is to locate the command entity and make use of its powers. We've done well. I am confident that we will continue to do well. Go forward. Break out. Do me pride. To victory! To victory! Carry on!
And what they would do is we'd get an overall briefing in the evenings about the whole kind of campaign and how things were going. We'd also get specific briefings before deployments to our battlefields from our Lords of War. So the Inquisitor or the Traitor Cadian or the mysterious, weird, changing person, that's a hint, would give you a kind of narrative update of what you also had to do. This is also when they did another cool thing. So I told you we had like the basic missions, basically Tyrannic War missions that we were playing, the Planetary Narrative Crusade missions. They also did a thing where they gave you like a secret campaign mission that you had to achieve. Your opponent may not have been aware of it, which is a really great way to do it. The Nova Open Narrative does it the same way. I do it as an event organizer at my local club also. So they would give us like a secret mission. It might be get your warlord to the middle of the table and they had to stay there, or assassinate the warlord, or break through the lines and get into your opponent's deployment zone. Something just small, right? It didn't give you points, so to say, but it gave you something to work towards that was part of the mission, that was kind of fun part of the narrative. So on day one, it was like establishing a beachhead, and that's what we had to do. So we were coming down onto the planet, or planets, and into the pallet system, and we all had to try to like secure our zones, and that was the first thing that got assigned to us. So that was day one. We got fully immersed right off the bat. The next morning, we wake up, we get one of these briefings from our Lords of War, and we then deploy. So upon deployment to the planets, I learned that the voxel columns are each assigned a planet. So each of these characters, there's someone from there's like an Imperial Preacher that's from an Inquisitorial Retinue, who's also a historian, an Imperial historian, which was pretty cool. There was Sergeant Stone, who was, this kind of Sly Marbo Cadian play, which was really cool. He was awesome. There was a Tech Priest. There was Colonel Kulov, who was in charge of the Ice Planet, I believe. I never got to play on that one, but luckily they kind of walked around and interacted with us. And many other characters. There was a dark kind of Mechanicum-like player or cosplayer that was pretty cool. Kind of picked up on that early on. They were in black robes right at the start, kind of creepy looking. So each of the planets are run by one of those, and they would give you a briefing too. So your Lord of War would give you your briefing, and then you would go to your planet, and then your voxel column for your planet would give you a briefing. That was a lot of fun. And then you would start playing your game. You would go and they'd say, all right, Battle Group 12, you're over here. And so you go find your tarot card and start playing. So this continued throughout the whole event. They would do the evening briefings. They would do, with everybody, they would do your Lord of War briefings for your entire pact. And then you would also get your briefings at the planet, which is really cool. It made it really immersive because there were so many layers to the story. You got the overall stuff, your pact-based stuff, and your planet-based stuff, all kind of layered on top of each other as you played through this event. And everyone stayed in character for the whole thing. Not necessarily the players. I'm talking about the Games Workshop staff. Like, they really did. They stayed in character and were dedicated to the event the whole time. Just phenomenal work. And so I want you to think about this too. I think there were 6 or 7 of the voxel columns. And so there were 6 or 7 of those characters, 3 Lords of War, plus the event organizer was also in character. So we had like a multitude of GW staff just dedicated to playing narrative characters while managing the logistics, on top of all the staff in the background that we as players didn't maybe really get to see. All the people who helped set up the terrain, all the people who were helping with the cosplay outfits, all the people who were running the store, all the people who were managing just every other aspect of the convention. And it was phenomenal. There must have been 30 to 40 Games Workshop staff dedicated just to this event, on top of all the cool stuff they made to give to the players for the event, or the cool things that they had just for the event too. So that was really impressive and actually meant a lot to see Games Workshop dedicate themselves this way to something like this, to narrative, right? When you actually went to play your games, once you got your assignment, you're playing your game, you're playing the main mission, you have your secret mission also. There was a third component to the missions, and that is fame and infamy, which you could see that I think they definitely took from the Nova narrative event. And fame and infamy, you could either, typically it was one of two things. It was either you would have your warlord cower in the deployment zone, or you would have your warlord go to the middle of the table and be there kind of, at the center of the battle in melee doing glorious things. I try to go for fame just because I don't want my Cadians to be infamous. So narratively, that just made sense. So I put my warlord in the middle of the table as often as I could during the games. And it was a lot of fun to be able to do that and to play the event that way. So there were kind of 3 layers of what was happening, and you got your choice about how to play it. I personally mostly went for the secret campaign mission, although I definitely always gave my opponents the hard try on the primary mission, the kind of planetary mission we were playing there. As we would typically think about like scoring objectives and doing actions and stuff. So, which was a lot of fun too, because this way, maybe if you weren't good at doing one thing, you were maybe good at doing the other. And it gave players kind of choices to make and how they wanted to play and enjoy their games. I'm going to share more about my games and the recaps of those in a separate video. So that's not this video, but I will do it in another video later on. So as we progress through, another thing kind of happened. Every day, the characters, the GW staff changed. They would get bloodied. They would have scars. They would get more soot on them. They would get more war decorations and honors placed all over them. Especially like Fedge was the one that he got more skulls and eventually got an ultramarine head on a spike and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Colonel Kulov lost an eye and was bleeding out of the eye, and then also one of the tech priests started having weird blood running out of his eyes. The historian got soot and kind of marks all over him. And so there was a lot of kind of cool stuff happening to create more immersion with the cosplay. And it also helps with the character evolution.
I have seen the command and I understand the future. All along, I have twisted this game's fate to ensure its escape from this planet. I care not about controlling it. I only care about the devastation it will reap and the glory it will bring to my Lord and ensure my ascension. I will leave this world with my forces and will lead my Lord's threads into the fabric of the universe.
Trickster! Liar! Manipulator! Oh, the truth is revealed! I am a loyal servant! I am... But my friend is with me still. We will flee this broken place on board the Invictus and deliver true progress to the Imperium.
So you kind of saw what was going on, and eventually this revealed that the Pact of Resistance Lord of War, leading the Xenos in generalities, was a Tzeentch worshipper. And by the end of the event, ascended to demonhood. So on the last day it got revealed, and they had the huge beats mask and had a Tzeentch staff and everything, and that was really cool to see that kind of evolution happen. We also saw with like the Inquisitor, he started out in kind of basic robes and war gear, and eventually put on Terminator armor, which looked phenomenal. Hopefully, in this video, I'm inserting some photos or videos of all of those kind of outfits. And so that also helped with the immersion, to see the kind of evolution of the characters as we went along, both Lords of War and the Vox Locale. That was a really great way to create more immersion and be part of it. But the other thing too, I think is also very important, is the players. The cosplay and the participation and the belief from the players was really awesome. I actually had a couple opponents. It was really hard to get them to break their immersion as their characters in order for us to talk through logistics of the game and set up and play. They were dedicated to be like, I am Captain so-and-so, or I am this biologist, or I am this person in my army. And that was what they were there to do. And it provided I was dressed up as Cadian Sergeant Steele the entire event. There was never one day I wasn't dressed up from start to finish as Cadian Sergeant Steele. But this was the dedication from the players too. There were so many people in amazing cosplays or dedicated to their army or what their models were doing and who they were and their faction narrative and their army narrative. It was really, really amazing to see that and to participate with like-minded people in that way. So I heard some absolutely phenomenal stories about my opponent's armies or even other people's armies I just got to walk around and see, which was really, really cool. So just as a recap of the event, I'm not going to spoil the story. If you want to know more about the story, that's not what this video is about. I would recommend, I'm going to put a link in the video description to go to the Warhammer community website. And there you can see pictures and read out the description of the narrative for this event. And definitely worth it. It was really cool, really fun. Like I said, I don't want to do spoilers because there's some cool progress to this story. And if I just throw it in this video, it could ruin it for you. And I think it's worth it to go read about it and see it. There's also some great pictures on the Warhammer community website of the terrain, of the cosplay, and I even got featured in one of the photos, my game 4. I had a wonderful opponent named Amanda, and it took a photo of me playing with her, and so you can see that there on the Warhammer community website as well. So I recommend going there, but I just want to say overall, I think this was well worth it as an event, and something people should definitely try out. And not only just the Grand Narrative event, but all narrative events, like whether you're going to the Renegade Open or Adepticon, Nova Open, I would really recommend trying this out, or definitely coming to the Grand Narrative event in 2024, because there's obviously going to be some amazing things happening then too. So it was well worth it, and it was a ton of fun. It was definitely a different way to play Warhammer, and I really can't recommend it enough. And that this style of gameplay is alive and well and supported by Games Workshop. And the event was phenomenal. Can't say anything less of it. Really, really can't. So overall, really great impressions. I love the event. I hope if any of you went and are watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it too and had good interactions with me and all the other amazing players at the event, and obviously the amazing Games Workshop staff too. So that's it for this video. So I will follow up with more. I'm going to be doing reviews of my list. I'm going to be reviews of my games played and discussing more about all of that in future videos here on the channel. As always, thank you for watching. Cadia stands.